The phone rang at exactly 2 in the morning. I was half asleep when the sound cut through the silence of my small apartment. The blue light from the screen illuminated my bedroom ceiling, casting strange shadows across the walls. I reached for it blindly, my fingers fumbling across the nightstand until they found the cold glass surface. The number was unfamiliar. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Hello?" My voice came out rough and heavy with sleep. There was a pause on the other end. I could hear breathing, soft and uncertain, then a woman's voice, barely above a whisper. "Can you come over and be with me?" I sat up slowly, trying to clear the fog from my mind. "I think you have the wrong number," I said, speaking carefully and gently. Another pause. Longer this time. I was about to hang up when she spoke again. "Please, I need someone here, anyone." There was something in her voice that stopped me. It wasn't fear exactly, but something deeper, a kind of loneliness that seemed to echo through the phone line and settle in my chest. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Are you in danger?" "No, nothing like that. She trailed off. I heard her take a shaky breath. "I'm sorry. This was stupid. I shouldn't have called." "Wait," I said, surprising myself. "Don't hang up." The night was completely still around me. Through my window I could see the city lights stretching out into the darkness. Thousands of windows in hundreds of buildings, each one containing its own small universe of human experience. Somewhere out there, in one of those windows, was this woman I'd never met. "What's your name?" I asked. "Sarah," she said after a moment. "What's yours?" "Michael," I told her. "Do you want to tell me what's going on, Sarah?" I heard her moving, the rustle of fabric, footsteps on a wooden floor. "I don't know how to explain it," she said. "Have you ever felt so alone that the silence starts to feel like it's crushing you?" I looked. Around my own apartment. The empty walls, the single chair at the kitchen table, the bookshelf I'd been meaning to organize for months. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I think I know what you mean. I moved to this city 3 months ago," Sarah continued, her words coming faster now. "For work. I thought it would be exciting, you know? A fresh start. But I don't know anyone here. And tonight I couldn't stand being alone with my thoughts anymore." I got out of bed and walked to the window. The streets below were empty, except for a single taxi gliding through an intersection. "Why did you call a random number?" I asked. "I didn't mean to call anyone," she admitted. "I was just scrolling through my contacts, looking at all these names of people I used to know, people I've lost touch with." My fingers slipped. "And then you answered, and I panicked, and those words just came out." There was something oddly comforting about this strange conversation in the middle of the night. Two strangers, brought together by accident, sharing the kind of honesty that only comes when you have nothing to lose. "What were you thinking about?" I asked. "Before you called?" Sarah was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. "My grandmother died last week. I couldn't afford to fly home for the funeral. And tonight I was looking at old photos and I realized that there's no one in my life right now who knows me well enough to notice if I disappeared." The weight of those words hung in the air between us. I sat down on the floor, leaning back against the wall. "I notice you," I said. "Right now, in this moment, there's someone who knows you're here, who's listening. That's kind of you to say." I could hear the hint of a smile in her voice, fragile but real. "Tell me about your grandmother," I said. And she did. She told me about Sunday dinners and garden vegetables and the way her grandmother always hummed while cooking. She told me about learning to bake bread, about old stories from before she was born, about the particular smell of lavender that would forever remind her of afternoon visits. I listened to all of it, and somewhere in the middle of her stories I started telling my own, about my parents who lived 2,000 miles away, about the friends I drifted from after college, about the odd feeling of living in a city full of millions of people and somehow feeling invisible. The minutes stretched into an hour, then 2. We talked about everything and nothing. She told me about her job at a design firm, the challenges of starting over, the small apartment that still didn't feel like home. I told her about my work as a freelance writer, the irregular hours, the way I sometimes went days without having a real conversation with another person. It's strange, Sarah said at one point. I feel like I can tell you things I couldn't tell anyone else. Because you're a stranger, because this doesn't have to mean anything. Maybe that's exactly why it does mean something, I suggested. Outside, the sky was beginning to change. The deep black was fading to dark blue, that particular shade that comes just before dawn. I hadn't noticed the time passing. Michael? Sarah's voice had changed somehow, become lighter. Yeah? Thank you. For not hanging up. For listening. I don't feel so alone anymore. I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. Neither do I, actually. That's funny, isn't it? We fix each other's loneliness just by being on opposite ends of a phone line. We talked until the sun came up, watching it from our different windows across the city. Sarah described the way the light hit the brick building across from her apartment. I told her about the tree outside my window that was just starting to show the first hints of spring. As the morning light filled my apartment, Sarah yawned. I should probably try to sleep, she said. I have work in a few hours. Me too, I said, though I wasn't sure I'd be able to sleep now. Michael? Her voice was tentative again. Would it be weird if... Could I call you again sometime? Not at 2 in the morning, maybe. But just to talk? I'd like that, I said, and meant it completely. Okay, good. I could hear the smile in her voice now, genuine and warm. We said goodbye, and the line went quiet. I sat there for a while, holding the phone, feeling the strange way this night had unfolded. A wrong number at 2 in the morning had become something else entirely. A reminder that connection could happen in the most unexpected ways. That loneliness was something we all carried, and sometimes all it took to ease it was another voice in the darkness. I saved her number in my contacts. Not as unknown or 2 a.m. call, but simply as Sarah. The city was waking up around me. I could hear the first sounds of traffic, the distant rumble of the subway, the world beginning another day. I felt different somehow. A little less alone, a little more connected to the vast network of human hearts beating out there in the morning light. My phone was already lighting up with the day's notifications, but I was thinking about tonight, wondering if she'd call again, hoping she would. Sometimes the wrong number is exactly the right one. Sometimes a mistake is really just an opportunity we didn't know we needed. And sometimes, at 2 in the morning, when the loneliness feels too heavy to carry alone, a stranger's voice can remind you that you're not as invisible as you thought. I got up and made coffee, and for the first time in months, I looked forward to whatever came next.